apparently the seagulls, even after the remnants of Hurricane Debbie came by with all that rain, still wasn't enough to wash off all the little presents the seagulls left me on my solar panels. I guess me all excited about those bifacial solar panels just really meant a really good place for a seagull to relieve themselves on. Anyway, oh, we are loving this. Doing about 6 knots and about 8 knots of apparent wind. About 10 knots, 10 knots, 11 knots, something like that, true. But loving life. It is good right now. But you know, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is that especially in my other channel, you guys hear me talk about redundancy a lot. And I don't know if it's that I'm not really a gambler. Some might call me a wussy. But certainly in tugboating, everything, you know, we push what they call red flag, meaning hazardous cargo. So all of our systems we have to have at least redundant systems, if not triple redundancy or more. And I've carried that on to Paquita as well. And it certainly has been helping out. As many of you know, I put together a lithium conversion. It was 900 amp hours. Now I've increased that up to 1200 amp hours. To put that, if that doesn't mean anything to you, because it's 1200 amp hours at 12 volts, or you know, 12.8. Anyway, basically about 15 kilowatts. If you're used to regular power, when I convert it through my inverter, I basically can run something like, if you had something that took 1,000 watts or 1 kilowatt, you could run it for 15 hours. Hopefully we don't draw that much. Paquita, when we're underway like this, usually draws around 250 watts, and that's covering stuff like the fridge and the freezer and all the nav equipment, charging up all of our phones and tablets and all that sort of stuff, running Starlink 24/7. The lights and the fans and all the stuff that keeps us going. So I have 3 ways of charging this bank. I can start the generator or plug into shore power and charge through the Victron Multi Plus, and that will charge at about 120 amps. So that's a pretty good method of charging, but you have to either be plugged into shore power, or you have to be running your generator. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate while I'm doing this. Anyway, then the second, another option we have is we have a Balmar 170 amp alternator with an external regulator, and that works very well when you're running your engine. But now, what used to be the third option is really the primary means. We have about 1,600 watts of solar, and that equates to 100 watts here from this panel that Bouge RV had me try out, and you can see it just kind of lays there. Then I've got a 200 watt Renogy panel here, and a 200 watt Renogy panel there, and 2 550 watt panels, Renogy panels that are bifacial back there. And all 5 of those panels have have their own dedicated charge controllers. And that's something that I really believe in, once again for redundancy, but also for shading, and I like having that. If you lose one, if one goes bad, you're not out of business. Well, in this case, I have these 3 ways of charging, and I got to tell you that it really has been working out for me, because for reasons I haven't figured out, when I came back to the boat, I realized that the alternator was not charging. And I thought about it and remember that when I added the 4th battery, there is a voltage sense wire that normally would go right to the alternator. You know, the alternator would take that right off of its positive post. But because you have so much power at the alternator and the battery bank is far away, there might be, say, 14 volts at the alternator, and there might be 13.8 back at the battery bank. So they want a separate wire that goes there. And I had that rigged up, and that had worked wonderfully last year. And when I put the new battery, when I added the battery to the list, you know, to the bank, what happened was I must have forgotten to put it back on. So that's what I thought the problem was, and I went and I looked and I found, yes, that was in fact the case. And before I had kind of hurriedly put it there, this time I reran a whole bunch of wires, made everything right, hooked it up, turned on the engine, and it was charging, and I was happy, and all was well with the world. And then yesterday when we were running, we probably ran half the day with motor sailing, and something started happening with my engine where I'm running at about 1600 RPM, and then all of a sudden you hear it go, and it goes down to like 1400 RPM. And I was like, oh my God, it must be starving, you know, the fuel filters or something. And everything was right on the gauges. You know, I have a vacuum gauge on my dual Raycors. I even rotated over to the other brand new Raycor, and of course it didn't change anything because that's not the problem. Then I went back and I actually tried to increase the throttle, because if it was a fuel problem and it was slowing down for starvation, it would show that in the throttle too, or at least I would imagine. So no, everything was working fine. I couldn't figure it out, and then it would slow down, and then a little while later it would speed up again. 5 minutes later it would slow down for about 15 to 30 seconds, then it would speed up again. So I said, well, you know what, I'm not going to worry about this right now, because you know, obviously I did an engine room check and everything was fine. And I went down below. I mean, you know, once we got anchored up, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what, I need to look at my alternator output, because that's such a big alternator. If you increase the field on that, you're putting a lot of strain on the engine. So when we got underway this morning from Point Judith, I went over and had the, you know, the Victron app will show you how much everything puts out. And I'm not making anything on the solar because the sun was just coming up. And the generator was, you know, the engine was running, the alternator was charging, you know, probably about 40 amps or so just to idle. Then when I started to pick it up to about 1000 RPM or whatever, it would go up to about 60 amps. I'm like, oh, everything's working great, this is great. And so then I thought, oh, maybe it's overheating, but because I have a temperature sensor on that. But I've installed a fan that blows on the alternator, so I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden you hear the engine speed up, and sure enough, the output of the alternator's gone to 0. So that's something I've got to work on. And the good news is with the Balmar, I've actually got 2 external regulators, just for redundancy again, but I have the other one ready to go. But one is a MC 614 and the other is a MC 618, which I think the only difference between the two is that the newer one that I paid more money for has a Bluetooth version to it if you buy their other stuff that I don't have, so it was kind of a waste of money. But anyway, it has worked right in the past, and it flashes out these codes. So at some point I've got to run the engine, and while it's doing its funny thing, videotape it flashing codes. And but I'm not really worried about that right now. So we left, the batteries were at 80%. Incidentally, we've been doing all our cooking on an induction cooktop, heated our hot water with the batteries and everything. So the batteries were at 80% this morning, and I only ran the main engine for about 20 or 30 minutes to get out of Point Judith, and once that was it, we set the sails, and we've been sailing ever since. And the last I looked, I think we're at 92% already, and all that's just coming from the solar panels. So it's real nice to have a system like that. I gotta watch this guy. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the Martha's Vineyard Express that goes from Martha's Vineyard to I think New Bedford, or yeah, I think New Bedford is where they go. They used to go to Rhode Island and Quonset Point. Maybe they still do. I don't know. But he's coming, and I am looking at his red side, and I'm sure that all of you know this, but if you don't know it, if you're looking at a boat and at night he would have showing a red light, or in this case it's daytime, but you know you're looking at his port side, so that's his red side. And like a car, you stop at a red light and you see a green light, you go. But I always get in these battles with people on my other channel, so hopefully you guys won't fight with me about this. Remember that when people are talking about stand-on or stand-down vessels or right-of-way, it's much better to have lived and not maintained your right-of-way than it is to maintain your right-of-way or stand-on vessel and die in the process. And as I said in many of my videos on my other channel, all you guys that want to talk about call regs, you really should be paying attention to rule number 2, which basically in a nutshell says all the call regs and in rule 1 can all go by the wayside if you can prevent an accident. So the idea of somebody staying on as a stand-on vessel and because they think they have the right of way or whatever until they die, well, they didn't read all the rules. Anyway, that's it. Just thought I'd share that with you, that redundancy is good, and in my case I'm happier than I could be. It's I think it's like almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the batteries, like I say, I have to go look. Well, let's go look together. I'll show you something kind of cool. I have over here, let's see if it hopefully will show up here.
Blue and white, high cotton, 1.6.
I have our system. Look at that, we're at 93%. Battery, the solar's coming in at 40 amps right now, even with all the bird poop on the panels. So that's pretty freaking awesome, I'm thinking. You can see we're using about 16 amps running everything that we are running right now, but the battery's at 93%. And let's see, I don't even know what time it is right now. It's 1 o'clock, 13:06. So we've got a good 3 hours left to sun. I don't think we're gonna have any problem bringing this thing up to 100%. And that's using all of the things that we use while we're normally underway. And didn't need to start the generator. We can still take a hot shower tonight. Probably be running my my hydronic heater for that, but we're doing that and doing all this. Just, you know, I don't know if you guys would like to start a wonderful debate with your old buddy Tim. I would love to hear you guys talk to me about the virtues of. Now listen, here's the rules. You can't enter this argument unless you have a wind turbine, because everybody that doesn't have a wind turbine tells me that I should get one. And I grew up on this island up in Maine. We didn't have any electricity, so our whole house was running on 12 volt, and we had one of the first generation Airex Marine turbines on the roof, and I hated that thing. It made the whole house, and you know, everybody goes by a marina and they see them spinning and they say, see, that's not that loud. And that's because they haven't excited the field yet. Once you excite the field, it goes, and so anyway, I'm not the biggest fan. And years ago when solar was so expensive and you know, that you couldn't get a lot of it, yeah, wind made a lot of sense. But right now, I mean, you saw on a day like today, I'm cranking 40 amps out, and I don't even. These are just flat. They're not like angled. I don't have anything right. Just dumbly making 40 amps. That's hard to beat. Now, granted, the wind, if you can make 5 or 10 amps, and you can do that for 24 hours a day, that's a wonderful thing. But I'm just thinking that the newer turbines are much quieter. There's no doubt about that. But they also aren't the ones that will put out tons of power. Like I think Airex Marine, if you have it out in a gale, it says it will put out, I think, 30 or 40 amps, but I think that's just about when it just starts to self-destruct. But anyway, no, I'm a big fan of solar. No moving parts, and look, most of the dinghy is in shade right now. And so hopefully it'll keep the water off of it too when it rains. But all these things are helping. So if you guys are big fans of your wind turbines, and if you have one, talk to me in the comments. My friend Courtney from Cape Ann Towing gave me the water maker that I'm rebuilding right now and trying to install. He also gave me an old AirX Marine that I have down in the lazarette, and I'm not sure right now. I don't really have a use for it because everything's going. It would be different if I were going to be high, sailing on the high latitudes. But I pretty much want to go where the sun is shining, so that kind of does that for me. And then there's also an issue that the AirX Marine has you can adjust the voltage output on it, but it doesn't use an external regulator, and it's really designed for charging flooded lead acid or AGM batteries. It's not really designed for charging lithium, so there's a whole issue of that as well. But anyway, you guys, I know a lot of you out there have these things. I know a lot of you out there love these things. If you have them and you love them and you want to tell me about it, please do so. Love to hear what you have to say. All right, that's it. So I think on both of my channels I've had multiple videos of going through the Cape Cod Canal. But I know that there are places that I haven't been, and I always search out YouTube and see if I can get a few pointers or figure out what I'm going to expect when I go through. So I set the camera up on a time lapse, and this is us coming in the west end. So in other words, we just went by what we call the west end sticks, and those are the big dolphins that we can lay a barge up there. My old Portuguese captain that taught me everything I knew was tied up there when the storm of the century came through. Every time we come through the canal, he'd always tell me that. Anyway, yeah, so we're coming up here. You may have seen me go by a buoy on the wrong side. So in other words, I took the red on the port side. And that's because I'm not a deep draft vessel. And most of you guys aren't either. So if you have water on the other side, and in this case I think there was like 20 feet where there might be 40 or 50 feet in the channel, we don't have to go in the channel. And even if there's nobody there, there's somebody that might be 15, 20 minutes out that's headed your way and is trying to line all this stuff, saying, oh man, I'm going to have to deal with a sailboat up there. Well, in my case, every time I can run outside of the channel, I do. And you could just skirt the channel too, just right on the edge. Just nothing wrong with that. And that way, when somebody scrolls ahead on the chart plotter or on the radar, they see you over there. They say, all right, this guy's going to be over there. He's not that guy drawn 5 feet in a 50-foot channel going right down the dead middle. And if you think I'm exaggerating, believe me, we deal with this stuff every single day. It's mind-blowing. You'll tell somebody, hey, you need to move to one side or the other. And they're like, no, negative, I'm the stand-on vessel, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, one of the stories I tell about coming down the Delaware River, there's a place called the Elbow of Cross Ledge, and it kind of gets really tight there. You can't really get out of the channel. And, like another tug and barge, most of the Delaware, the tugs can run outside of the channel, and then when we get, so that the ships use the channel, but then when we get to the Elbow across ledge, we've got to be in the channel for that. And I remember there's somebody with a trawler, and this ship is calling him. He's like, yeah, I'm an 1,100 foot container vessel. I'm going this way. This tug and tow is coming the other way. You need to get out of the channel. And the guy starts going, I do this and I do that and I know the call regs and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't hear anything. And I was really kind of amazed that the pilot didn't straighten the guy out. So I called him over there. Pilots usually have a house channel. I called him over on his other channel. And I said, hey, man, I'm pretty impressed with you not going berserk. He goes, son, I've been doing this long enough that I've found when you talk to some of these guys, if they won't move horizontally, they will move vertically.
I always thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, here we are. We went by earlier. We went by the Cape Cod. The Massachusetts Maritime on the left. Then the Army Corps of Engineers on the left as well. That they're the ones that maintain the canal, and we have to check in with them and that sort of stuff. Not on a sailboat, but on the tugboats. And then we go through the railroad, or before we get to the Army Corps, we go through the railroad bridge, and then the Bourne Bridge. This is the Sagamore Bridge. Hope I got that right. I always get those too confused. But anyway, it's beautiful. And if you've ever been in this area, there's the entire canal has these beautiful bike paths on either side. And so it's always full of people. And the thing is loaded with striped bass. You see all kinds of people fishing on the shore, bringing in, 50-inch striped bass. It's pretty impressive. But anyway, we're coming up to the power station up here. Fun little fact, I've never gone to this power station. Many of my friends have, and that just has to do with when you had the contract to do it. Right now I think they're burning mostly natural gas, but a bunch of my friends used to bring 6 oil there all the time. Then after that, you'll see Sandwich. And if you ever come here on your own boat, Sandwich Marina is an awesome marina. It's right in here. You see that guy going in right there? It's wonderful. The fuel prices are great, and the staff is fantastic. There's an amazing restaurant. There's one on one side that's okay, and another one on the other side that's just next level. It's incredible. But and the prices are really good, and it's kind of neat because we live in a day and age that we don't really see a lot of municipalities doing good work, and the town of Sandwich actually manages the marina, and they do a fantastic job. So if you're ever coming through, highly recommend getting water and fuel, and maybe spending the night in Sandwich. But now we're headed off to go to cross the bay and up to Provincetown. So on our way up to Provincetown, we saw over by Stellwagen Bank, the whale sanctuary over there. We saw a bunch of the whale tour boats over there, and so we knew that the whales had to be feeding over there. So we kind of headed off in that direction. One thing I have on my Garmin autopilot is I have a Garmin remote, so we can stay up in the bow and steer from there. That's kind of cool. I would love to have much better video, but I think in order to do this, I just clamp the GoPro on the side of the rail and let it roll. So that's kind of what you have to be. That's all you're gonna see. So as we get closer, you might start seeing some more whales. They were there. It was a lot of fun. Kristen was all excited. It was wonderful. So I'll just shut up and let this play out, and hopefully enjoy the whales.
Sí.
Oh my God, I'm scared. Son muy grandes. Y ese barquito es muy chiquito. Mira, mira. Oh my God.
Venga, venga.
Sí.
Allá voy.
Amor, ese barquito es muy chiquito. Esa ballena es muy grande. La puedes tumbar.
Yo quiero vamos, pero no es bueno para la gente. Vamos muy rápido y cerca.
No, claro, no, es que... Ponle la canción de la ballena.
So, not wanting to be that guy that just runs right up into the middle of everyone's whale watching experience. And not only that, I believe the Marine Mammal Act of 1977 or whatever says that you're supposed to maintain, I think it's like 50 yards or something like that, away from any marine mammal. But we've gotten very close in the past, but we've just stayed static and the whales have come to us. That kind of works really well, but like I say, especially all these people that are paying to go see whales and stuff, I didn't want to run right into the middle and drive the whales away. So we didn't get that close, but we were close enough to see them. They were pretty cool.
Mira, 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 mira los
Va a
bobos.
saltar,
Eso,
mira,
sí.
mira. Wow, eso sí. Esta vez la vimos mejor. Oye, ¿cómo suena? ¿Tú lo oíste? Que
Sí.
Va para allá. Nice. Esta vez la vimos demasiado. Mira la gente siguiendo la calle.
Ah, mira aquí.
¡Woohoo! Ahí la vi, la vi. ¡Mira, ahí va! ¡Yupi, qué grandota! Hay todos que venían para acá. Porque... Mira, este le van a caer.
Mira.
Mira, 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 bebé, va a subir otra vez. Dos. ¡Yupi!
Aquí, otro aquí.
Oye, vela allá. Mira, aquí, va a subir.
Sí, sí.
Mira, va. Y ahora viene.
Oh, mira, 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 mira allá.
Sí, allá está. Yo la vi.
¡Woo! Joder.
Yo aquí estaba el plaza entero viendo mujeres. ¿Te diste un golpe? ¿Sí?
Ok, vamos.
¿Sí, ok?
Oh, sí, sí, sí. No, no, estoy ahí.
Vaya.
¿Cómo? ¿Está bien?
No, es ok. Un poco.
Yo vamos. Yo quiero toma eso. Ah, no, yo.
Vamos.
Los ballenas está allá, pero yo quiero pa.
Mira.
Well, folks, that's about it for this week. But we'll have something else for you next week. And thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give this thing a like, a thumbs up, a share, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you on the one.